votes, but are you prepared today to tell us what caused the long lines? Or is that part of your fact-finding?
Senator, it is part of our fact-finding, and if you would allow me the privilege of going out, interviewing these supervisors and learning from them, each county's issues relating to this election are different, whether it's a rural county or urban county. I want to hear from them. But when you look at underperformance, it could be an administrative issue, could be an issue about judgment, about turnout, could be an issue about locations of the early voting sites. It could be manpower issues, and it could be technology. So all of those issues encompass the fact-finding effort that we're going to go about. And in some cases, Senator, it might relate to appropriations. You can't have a system of elections and deal with the kind of turnout that we had to deal with without dealing with the appropriations of what technology costs to move people through. Again, if you're in the burger business and you don't have enough cash registers or burger makers, and you don't appropriate the money for that type of service, then yeah. So if we don't have enough tabulators, if we don't have enough machines that scan voter ID cards so people can move through a line, and you're using the old technology of a book to have to look through, those are issues we have to address and we have to look at.
Specifically, which five counties are
Well,
those?
we're going to go to Hillsborough, Lee, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach, and St. Lucie.
How many is that?
That's 6. I really don't. Actually, Hillsborough is not an underperforming county.
And the rain, is that bothering you, or the long line?
Not really. I get wet, but it's more important to vote.
Documentation they may have regarding that machine. Now that's the last I've heard from your county. I've sent you information indicating this is not satisfactory. Why I think that elections here are being tampered with, it has a lot to do with the history of the county. You've had several different, you haven't had a tamper-free or a glitch-free election.
And seeing as a benchmark what some of the counties are. So I'm interviewing 6, but the problem, the issue of underperformance was in 5. So just to clarify that.
Senator Diaz-Portilla.
Just welcome, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, sir.
On your list here, you say Miami-Dade County could have opened 82 early voting sites. They chose to open 20, correct?
Yes, sir. Those were eligible under state statute.
Isn't the branch office of the Division of Elections also eligible as an early voting site?
Yes, sir.
So it's really 83 sites potentially that they could have opened,
Yeah.
not 82, technically, right?
Senator, there are actually some annexes and some other offices that could likely be under the state statute. That data is a conservative estimate based on our library research that we did. It could be more than that, but that's your core number right there.
Okay, so we know that it's at least 83, maybe more. You list 82 here, but it's at least 83 if you have one branch, main division of elections, local division of elections, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there may be some other annexes and what have you, so it could be 85, 86.
Yes, sir.
The decision to open only 20 early voting sites is solely that of the supervisor of elections in Miami-Dade County.
That's
correct,
Senator.
So that supervisor of election chose to open 20 sites out of a potential at least 83, 84, or 85 early voting sites, right?
Yes, sir.
Was there also an issue with delay in counting the absentee ballots in Miami-Dade County?
Well, they met the statutory requirement to report, so in my view, they performed adequately on reporting.
But let me say this also. The bill reinstates early voting that was cut. It reinstates it to 2 weeks, particularly the Sunday before Election Day. It will create opportunities for more early voting sites, not restrict the early voting sites. It will give some local discretion in determining where these voting sites are and will not just tie them to governmental buildings. It will increase polling places. There will be better voter assistance and bilingual access. It will ensure that provisional ballots are counted. And it will provide adequate notice. Now, this is what we hope that the legislature will take up as a priority matter. Florida was the laughing stock of the nation again this year when it came to voting. And we ought to be tired of that. We have the talent, we have the intellect, and we have the motivational will to do something about it. And we're challenging all Floridians to stand behind this effort and do it.
Mr. Secretary, is there any analysis being done as to what extent the reduction in early voting hours may have contributed to the long lines?
No, sir.
Why is that?
It's possible we could do that. We haven't been charged. We're really charged with finding out what didn't go well and how to improve that. But I think the record speaks for itself. When you get record turnout of early voting and you get record turnouts of absentee votes, it's clear that people conformed and liked the experience that they had this year. When you get record turnout of early voting and you get record turnouts of absentee votes, it's clear that people conformed and liked the experience that they had this year.
Chairman, on the issue of the supervisors, frankly, it seems to me we ought to get to 5 or wherever that number. But is it possible also to get some supervisors in here who did it right, who seem to get it, and maybe we could learn from
Yes,
them?
I met with Secretary Detzner this morning and got the suggestions of, in his mind, of who some of those supervisors are too, and I think we'll have both groups.
Our Brevard County Supervisor of Elections, Lori Scott, is here. Congratulations on a successful election. I think you showed how you can get it done, and we appreciate all your work and that of your staffs that's here.
It was a busy election year, 4 elections and redistricting. That won't happen again for another 20 years, so lucky me and lucky us, but it went well. But I wanted to just come by today and
ask that we expand the number of days. You're happy with the days that we have?
well, and I think in Brevard, and every county has to look at their own unique ways. And one of the things, you gave us more hours. So I was able to expand hours, and I expanded sites also. So there are limitations, would be budget and staffing issues. But as far as we're concerned, I mean, I thought the primary was historical with a 40% turnout before Election Day until we hit the general, which was 49.5% before Election Day. For us in Brevard County, our voting by mail numbers continue to soar. Duval is almost 200,000 more voters than us, but we had more absentees than them. When I knew that there were going to be 11 constitutional amendments, I started letting our voters know and saying, you may want to have that extra time. You may want to consider voting by mail, to have that time in your home to research these issues. Because if you did not take advantage of that sample ballot, Senator, and you came in for the first time, you know how that is. It can really throw voters.
And I know it's interesting. I know Senator Gardner's on the committee, to hear how few states even have early voting.
Yes.
And I got a little defensive. I mean, Florida was being trashed a little bit about limiting access to the polls, when the reality is we're one of the most open, progressive states in the union. How many states have early voting? It's surprisingly few.
And not all states have absentee voting. I mean, you consider that 50% before Election Day, and we basically have 30 days of voting. From the time that absentees go out, people come in and do counter voting, which is basically early voting in the office. And we keep seeing that people coming in more and more. I mean, we had thousands of people vote in the office outside those 8 days with counter voting.
I think the vast majority don't even allow early voting, so we're way ahead. Or an excuse to vote. A quick follow-up, Senator. Just we're trying to get back on time schedule, so you got sure. Okay. And I think we ought to call the Early Voting Information Service the Early Legal Voting Information Service, ELVIS.
Thank you, Senator.
Representative Tobias, did you have a comment?
I don't comment very often because I'm quite frankly not very easily impressed, but I want to say that your office was one of the most user
you.